Okay, good morning, colleagues, our esteemed guests, the presenters, and also our online audience. It is my greatest pleasure to officially open the proceedings of today's event, the Supervisor Enrichment Orientation, with the theme Supervision in the Age of AI. My name is Kweke Zopila. I'm part of the Research Capacity Development Unit. I am not alone. I am here with my colleague, Mr. Ngosie Tuntuli, and together we will be leading the proceedings of the event. And we also have our colleagues, some of our colleagues at the back there, and who have played such a crucial role in organizing this event, and also to acknowledge the presence of our director, Prof. Penny Gavenda. Thank you for being here. So AI is, undeniably reshaping the landscape of teaching and learning as well as supervision. And so we are thankful to have events such as this one where we get to, revisit our approaches, our practices, share ideas, share possibilities, and also just to encourage each other, give each other guidance. So we are thankful that we have gathered here today um, to actually share some of the best practices. Um, so I would like to also commend the role of the supervisors, the role that you play in the postgraduate students studies, your supervision, your expertise, your support. We are very much thankful for the guidance that you do provide to the postgraduate students. And, we are also, comforted that you are here today because it shows that you are constantly seeking ways to develop yourselves as supervisors. And that is, it benefits the students as well. So your presence here today, it benefits you and it benefits the students, that you are also, assisting or you are guiding. And so we are thankful to see you here and we're very much happy that you have joined us today. Even the online audience, we are very much thankful for taking the time to join us on this event today. So our program features diverse presentations from different speakers, and so we are urging you to engage as much as possible. Let's make this event meaningful, engaging, so that when we leave here today, we have learned something. We have shared your perceptions, your ideas, and that's the the idea of this gathering today. So let's make it as engaging as possible, and let's have a good time. I'll hand over to my colleague.
Thank you, colleague. Colleagues, thank you once again for joining us. As my colleague has mentioned, I am Kosie Tuntuli. I'll just want to quickly go through some few housekeeping rules. Please do note that those colleagues who have joined us online, the recording will be available. The session is being recorded. The resources will be shared to everyone who have attended. We kindly request you, colleague, to make sure that your mic is always muted when you don't have a question. However, we do encourage an interactive engagement. So if you do have a question for any of our presenters, you are more than welcome to just raise a hand or virtual hand, or alternatively type under the chat, and our colleagues will monitor the chat as well as those colleagues who are online. To those colleagues who are here with us, please do make sure that your devices, electronic devices, are always on mute so that we cannot disrupt the proceeding of this session. Once again, everyone, welcome to this wonderful session. We do hope that we will learn something from each other from today, as we have a list of our presenters here. I see we do have Dr. Anolu, who is here with us. We do have Dr. Kali Karin, who will be joining us online. And we do have Prof. Eni Verhoef, who will be also joining us later. We also have Dr. Vanesh Pillay, who will also joining us later. So thank you once again, colleagues. Without any further ado, I would like now to officially welcome each and every one of you. And also to do that, I will welcome my colleague, Dr. Lorenzo David, who will give us a warm welcome, and we can therefore start with this session. Thank you.
Okay, so once again, good morning, colleagues. I hope you all are well. So I'd like to firstly welcome you on behalf of the Research Capacity Development Unit. As my colleagues have said, my name is Dr. Lorenzo David, and just here to welcome you today. So firstly, I'd like to thank you all for making the time to join us, both online and in person. I think when it comes to a topic such as this, supervision in the age of AI, I think it's something that is quite important. We do see that AI is actually, it's the buzzword at the moment. It's everywhere, and we know that students are very well versed in it. And with that in mind, we thought that it's also good for us to bring in some experts who would be able to give us a different perspective, to equip the supervisors not only to assist the students with using it and to identify when it may be being used unethically, but also how can AI be used to enhance certain research processes. You know, when we think about AI, the first thing that generally comes to mind is, you know, students using it for unethical purposes. But AI is actually a very powerful tool. If we look at everything from putting your research together or looking for gaps in your argument, it is a tool that is absolutely, you know, I believe it is going to be the future. And by us training ourselves and informing ourselves, we are able to be better positioned to assist our students on how to use it ethically moving forward. So I hope today's session is going to be engaging. We'll call it a intimate physical session, but we do have quite a large online audience as well. So what I would like to recommend is that if at any point you have any questions, please feel free to engage with the presenters. We welcome this sort of engagement because when we engage with one another, this is where we have room to grow and obviously expand our own knowledge as well. So with that, we'd just like to highlight that when it comes to AI, and I think I've mentioned this, I've touched on it previously, the ethical implications is actually something that we need to consider. And I always think about it as being a balancing act. Yes, AI is a powerful tool, but if it is put in the hands of students who do not have the foundational knowledge in each of our respective disciplines, it can be quite disruptive. When we look at how AI models obviously are, how they're trained, they are trained from human input. So if our students at certain points now only start learning from AI, you know, the model will actually plateau and no further learning can be done beyond that. So I think it's something quite important for us to stress, even as we go back to our faculties and our departments, that stress the ethical importance. And I'm sure that many of our speakers are going to touch on that today. So with that, I'd just like to once again thank you all for making the time to be here. We look forward to an engaging and interactive session. And yeah, so with that, I will call on my colleague, Ms. Pila, who will run us through the rest of the program. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Lorenzo, for the warm welcome. We will be starting with our first session of presentation. So the first speaker will be Dr. Arno Law, and I'll just go through his bio. So Dr. Arno Law is a senior e-learning specialist at the University of Johannesburg Center of Academic Technologies with over 2 decades of experience in instructional design, curriculum development, and digital education. Dr. Law also leads UJ's CAD Lab, an innovative e-learning development hub, and has published extensively while designing courses, educational apps, and digital learning products. And Dr. Arno Law will be facilitating a presentation on AI as my neural gateway. I will hand over to Dr. Law, and if you do have questions, please raise them on the chat for the online audience, and even for the physical audience, you can just raise your hand when we have the question and answer at the end of the presentation. Thank you. Over to you, Dr. Law.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the warm welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I first want to stress this for all of us. Listening or hearing AI as part of what we have as supervisors does not mean that that hard academic shell that you have, the egg that you formed so perfectly over many years is now being cracked and the egg breaks. If you feel that your shell is cracked, it's because the egg has gone bigger. It's growing. And that's the big thing we have to take in account if we look at artificial intelligence. So I'm just going to run my PowerPoint quickly for us. Right. So the big thing about AI that actually caused a lot of conflicts are these few examples that I want to show everybody. This is a workshop that I've presented to supervisors, to students, to lecturers, and to various institutions. And the data I got from this is actually amazing, because you should see how it enhances the thoughts of people. So all the polemics around AI is actually neutralized. And I found that after these workshops. So in a few minutes, I'm going to give you a QR code and a link as well, which you can either scan with your phone or click on the link to be able to interactively see what people experience. But the first thing that I want to touch on will be misconceptions about AI and the use of AI. The first misconception that all our students, or most of our students and people have, is that the AI output is undetectable, which is not true. So people get so scared they want to reside to programs that actually can detect AI. No, don't let the software do it for you. You are able to do it. About 3 years ago, I published an article where I took a part of the work that I was questioning. And I took a part of what the same student wrote a few months earlier. And I sent it through ChatGPT and I said, compare this and tell me if it is the same author. And remember, because it's a large language model, it can detect tone, it can detect authorship, it can detect this sentence constructions, and it could give me a much better report than other AI detectors, which I will not name now. So if I've got 200 words and 20 of those words look the same, the AI and the similarity detector will say to me, it is 10% similar. How do you want to reduce thinking into percentage? It says nothing. But if you send it through a large language model, it gives you quality and it tells you about the authorship. So it's not a debit and credit tool anymore. And that's where supervisors tend to use these things as a punitive tool to punish students. You should not copy. You should not smoke. And that's not the way of doing supervision. Supervision is to develop a mind. And we must take that into account. So the first thing that I usually show students there is you, as a supervisor and a student, can immediately see minor rephrasing of AI-generated text does not make it original. First of all, and I broke the sentence up so that we see the simple structure. The structure is too perfect. No human can do it as perfect. And then the tone is too perfect, like instructions in a movie to evacuate a building before it self-destructs. You have 2 minutes to evacuate the building. It is too perfect, and it is too monotonous. Then also, the non-specific nature of AI-generated content remains intact. So it has got, all the sentences are the same length. All the sentences use the same buzzwords. And it does not go deeper in thinking and thought engagement. It remains a monotonous sentence, like or a paragraph, like a brochure that somebody's handing out. Lecturers often recognize the formulaic phrasing, and it's always done in the same way, missing the critical engagement, and it is inconsistent in the depth that do not match the student's usual style of writing. That's how you pick it up immediately without sending it through an engine. If you, of course, have doubts, send it through the AI. Ask the AI how to detect AI, and it will give you an answer. The second option is thinking AI will make an assignment look original. And what we find there, let me just get in there, the misconception, AI outputs are inherently accurate and academically sound. So people saw, and some journal publishers saw, okay, no, but people use AI, so it does not work that perfectly. It gives inaccurate data, it gives inaccurate resources. But why are you evaluating the AI or the student? So what you see there is that large language models often produce plausible but factually incorrect, outdated, or fabricated content, including false references. And you know why that happens? Because the prompt that people actually types in there is incorrect. If you say write an essay of 1 page and give me 10 sources, and the AI does deep research and searches for that, but could only find 6 sources, it's going to fabricate the other 4 because you told it to give you 10 sources. So it is going to fabricate because it's listening to, and that's my research niche, the IA, which is the intelligent agent behind it. That's you as a human being. So you must just know how to control all of this. Right. Then lecturers quickly notice when assignments sites are non-existent and the student presents over-polished but incorrect arguments. And the arguments remain on the same level. They don't go deeper. So you pick that up immediately. And you know, when I do this, I show this same presentation to the students as well, so that they know we are not that ignorant. We can see these things. If I paste the entire question into ChatGPT, it will give me a perfect answer. Oldest one in the book. That's high school way of using AI. So the reality is the AI generates a generic interpretation. It's non-contextual. People usually say, tell me what photosynthesis is or describe it. And the AI will do it encyclopedia-like, without engaging deeper thought and without questions, unless you use the study mode in ChatGPT, for instance. But it will also go, it gives you surface level responses, and I did not prompt the AI. Describe photosynthesis as we find it in Limpopo in South Africa. Then it will give me contextualized explanations. Although shallow, superfluous, it will still explain it to me. And that's where the student engage and sees, well, I've got this. What do I do with it? That's where the engagement starts. It lacks theoretical integration and it lacks course-specific terminology. Then you immediately say, okay, this is very much encyclopedia type of an answer. And people forget to contextualize. Assuming if students, they always get bored, because somewhere people learned that more intelligent people get bored easily. I don't know what nonsense that is, but now they think it must be more interesting, or they don't understand. So I can make my work sound smarter by asking ChatGPT to use academic language. What academic language? Oxford, Harvard, the University of Moscow. So whatever that means. And the AI just does what it thinks is academic language. So if I use complex vocabulary or a formal tone, it hides the fact that I used AI. It's overly verbose, like a virtuoso piano performance. It's awkwardly phrased, it lacks critical insight, and lecturers easily identify AI's telltale sign: uniform sentence lengths, buzzwords, an overload of certain things, and a detached tone. You pick that up immediately. The other thing is, if we, there we go. There's if I write the introduction and the conclusion, or the intro and the outro myself, I rephrase a bit, my lecturer won't think that the AI wrote it. Meanwhile, that's the most obvious detection. The students' written section often do not logically flow, there's no coherence, and the tone is detached. And it's always a shallow analysis, and it reveals what I call patchwork. You can immediately see which parts have changed, are patched, band-aids in there to see if it works or not. You immediately pick that up. Right, so I've got a QR code there. If you want to scan it, and the audience online, you can do that as well. I can also, I think it will be easier if you scan it. Else, we're going to take a few minutes to go through the interaction to get to the whole idea. So what I have done is, for about 2 years, I've given students AI work to do. I forced them to use AI. I took the data I got from the AI, and I've identified learning styles, the reasons why students use AI, and what comes of it. And I have found the engagement and the actual deeper use of AI has to do with how students' thinking and minds engage with the AI. So I was trying to get people to go away from the obvious use of AI, like high school kids would do it. So if we use it academically sound, and there are so many apps available, it doesn't help I show you a few apps, then we'll sit here for a month, and it's just like someone asking me, what app can I use to do this? There's many of them every day, appearing and disappearing. So whatever works for you would be the best way. So this is actually, and that is just a link to the open ChatGPT, which one can use if you have not got an account yet with an AI. I suppose no one of us does not have an account with an AI. It just happens. It would be like me asking who does not have a flat screen TV at home. Nobody told us, not government, nobody, we just got it. Right, so I just make an example of ChatGPT. I try to personify ChatGPT there. Yes. Okay, it's fine. It's fine. Okay. So, and there's the open AI. there's because I just want to actually take you through the idea of why the workshop was developed. And I opened it up. It's just maybe I should do better. So what I did was I named this the 7 laws of my thoughts. So it's not my thoughts, it's the thoughts of the person using the AI. And interesting there, let me just maybe before we continue with this, I think I just quickly want to see if I can open okay, I'll get to that now and open it's a normal Google form that I've opened up. So, yeah. Right. Okay. So the first group of students.
I'm
it's
supposed to
okay.
ask in the mic.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to know who the students were that you worked with.
Right. So the first group of students were advanced diploma in quantitative techniques in the mathematics of business. The second group was a diploma and degree students on human resource development, the digital communication part. The third group were BCom honors students. The other group, the next group were third years. The other group were, 4 groups were lecturers of various fields. Then there were 3 supervisor groups that I presented it to. So in total, there were over about 150 responses. And I identified styles and ways people think. So it was the whole diverse group. And when I spoke to people, I also got input of how their children use it. And that's where I saw how high school kids use the AI. Right, so it's across the range, actually, except primary school kids that I've used. Right, so law number 1, it came to be 7 laws. Law number 1 is the law of metacognition. And it's simple. Can I draw a thinking diagram of my thought procedure? And most people have never done this before. So first of all,
Number 1. Can I draw a thinking diagram of my thought procedure? Use ChatGPT. Describe the steps you use to create an assignment. Then, ask ChatGPT to create a diagram of your work process. Download the diagram to your device. Upload or share the diagram in the workbook.
right, so that is the first prompt that people do is they go into ChatGPT, and when I do an assignment, when I want to write a paragraph, any form or procedure, when I do a task, when I study for a quiz or an exam, what do I do? So it's very personal, and you actually have to think about your thinking, the metacognition, and you start listing the procedure. Then one asks the AI or the language model like Chat GPT to draw a diagram for you. And then that diagram is then taken and it's uploaded into the Google form where one can see what happens. Right. This whole workshop takes about an hour and a half if you physically interact with the Google form. So as soon as a student has done that, they have now actually seen, right, but my thoughts aren't always the same. My procedures aren't always exactly the same, because then one would become artificially intelligent and not solve a problem. Then it goes over to rating yourself. So the rubric then created was my metacognition. How clearly does the activity show my thinking process? Number 1, it didn't show my thoughts. And then it goes on until it might reach level 5, which is not possible unless you really a hardened academic. But usually for a student, maybe level 4 would be the highest level. My thinking is clear and mostly structured. But in extreme, my thought process is extremely clear, well structured, and reflective. So there's an educational side behind this rubric. It pushes a person to the highest level, that I actually start metacognition, thinking about my thinking. Then when I go to the next
Number
law,
2. What do I gain from this? Prompt ChatGPT. Name 3 ways of how I can benefit from using AI in my learning process. Copy the response and upload or share it in your workbook. Then, use the scale and rate yourself in the workbook.
so what do I gain from this? You can ask the AI, what do I gain from knowing my thought procedure in a diagram? Usually the AI says, you are a visual thinker. Do you always have a diagram with you? If you do not have a mind map or a diagram, let me create one for you. And the student and even you as a researcher take this and see, oh, but that's how it's going to fit in. So my question is, who did the work here? Who did the thinking? You as a person did. The AI merely assisted you to do it a bit faster than usual. And that is why one realizes your gains. So then people rate themselves on the second law. To what extent did this activity help me to gain a new skill, insight, or perspective? I did not gain any insight. To the most extreme, I gained something powerful. I'll apply it in the future. Interesting, I designed this rubric and I sent it through ChatGPT. And I said, write this for me that it sounds appealing to anyone who wants to do this workshop. Therefore, it shortened, it gave the weakened forms of words like I'll, I will. So it's a bit personal. Right. Third law.
Number 3. The law of losses. Ask ChatGPT in the prompt. Please list 3 risks I will have when I rely too much on AI in my studies. Place these risks in a table on screen and advise what I can do to avoid these risks. Copy and share or upload the table in the workbook.
Now, what is interesting here, if I say to the large language model, list 3 risks if I am over-reliant on the AI to do work. In other words, if I only allow the AI to do the work for me and accept it as the alpha and the omega of everything that I must hand in. What are the risks? And then the AI lists risks for you. A very good one it gave me personally back was, don't make AI your crutch. Make it your assistant. And it will list risks for you. And if you say to the AI, place this risk in a table, it will do a table format on screen. And what one does then is you take those 3 risks and you ask the AI, what can I do when I investigate this section, when I want to analyze this data to avoid falling into these traps, or so that it's not too risky when I do the work. So actually, I am educating my student to also be a researcher that thinks twice or a few times before I take on any method, any type of writing, any approach to how I want to do a certain method in my study. And because you initially started the chat, which is now not a chat anymore, it has now started to become a discussion between you and the AI. It knows how you think or your procedure with the first diagram. So it will tell you, you are at risk of this and this and this happening. Here I can see you over rely on the AI. This is a better approach you can follow. And I can make it very contextual. I can start doing it with my actual topic that I'm engaging with. Right, so law number 3. If these are the gains and the risks, what do I lose if I over rely? So, let me just see if law number 3 is explained. Here you are. So, I didn't reflect on the risks. I vaguely noticed something. I saw one weakness. I clearly identified dependency on the shallow area that I'm investigating. I deeply reacted on limitations and how to fix it. So this is very in the abstract and very metacognitive. But as a student, I now learn how to mitigate my use of AI. So we're now long past it writes something, the large language model, and it's copied and pasted and handed in. It's long over that now by the time they reach law number 3.
Number 4. The law of unique contribution. Question: what insights enrich my contribution to the work I do? Step 1. Prompt for ChatGPT. Ask ChatGPT this short prompt. Write a very short academic-style paragraph, 3 to 4 sentences, on why creativity is important in multimedia studies.
For instance.
Look at the output on the next screen and follow the unique human contribution.
Right. So what I've done there is when I presented this to a group of designers at FADA, I used a multimedia example. But the whole rationale behind this was to get a research question or sub-question or argument that I'm busy writing and try and see what happens. And then I show everybody this example. There's a ChatGPT, it might as well have been Perplexity or whichever model I use, about creativity. And that was its response. Creativity is a vital component of multimedia studies as it allows students to produce innovative and engaging content. Okay, I know that. It supports problem solving by enabling learners to approach challenges with originality. Okay, does that really differ from the first sentence? It doesn't actually. It paraphrases, so it doesn't go deeper. Furthermore, creativity ensures that multimedia outputs stand out in a competitive digital environment. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So there's no depth in this that I can see. If I look a bit further, look at how the human contributes to this. While it is true, so I can take the paragraph that the GPT has given me, but now I'm not elaborating on the paragraph, I'm not paraphrasing, I'm not substituting, I'm doing the following. While this is true, I believe, and you can see there, It is also about telling stories that reflect our South African realities. For example, when designing a digital animation for a campus project, I drew inspiration from the minibus taxi culture, the colors, sounds, and humor on everyday life. This is not only make the work original, but also connect it with audiences in a way that global stock images and AI output could never achieve. And there you can see what happens here. ChatGPT provides a useful, well-written starting point. But what do you add? Voice, context, and an example from your experience. And that is what you want from students. So I say to my students, use the AI. I've now got a PhD student and 3 master students. Use the AI. But if I don't see your voice, the context, and an example that you lived, it's worth nothing. And that's where the ethics also comes in. Where did you find the data? What resources did you find? Did you use the resources when your own voice was added from a South African author or a sub-Saharan part of the world author? Or is it still the general one you picked up in an Oxford library somewhere online? And was it a credible journal? Last week I submitted an article to the British Journal of Higher Education, and they said to me they're not going to accept articles now. They are 60,000 articles behind in processing. So I wondered, what percentage of those are AI-generated articles? So they have to sieve through that through the same way before they can accept what is used. So I'm talking about academically valuable work that the student hands in. And when they see this, they immediately start thinking differently. Some of them even avoid using the AI because they now realize, okay, this isn't a quick fix. We had the exact same thing happening 25 years ago with Google. Then 10 years ago, 12 years ago, when Wikipedia hit the world, we had the exact same thing. So it's a pattern, it's human behavior that's kicking in here. Why sit through the hell of generating something on paper when someone can stand and explain it to you? Who thought of that? What we see lately is that specific universities in Canada as well, now when you hand in a PhD, you hand in a 2 to 3 hour documentary film that you made with a short paper of about 25 pages, explaining this is the methodology, this is the findings. But the documentary the committee looks at shows a physical interview. If this was my PhD, it will show 10 seconds of how I was standing presenting here. So it's like a portfolio of evidence that's handed in. You sign with confidentiality. Their Privacy Act looks a bit different from ours, but everything is signed. It's within a committee, in a room. People sit and they watch the documentary, and immediately they can pick up if the person that did the narrative there is a researcher or not. Isn't that the point of a PhD study at the end? So that is the way they've started to assess now. So if, like my AI photos here and my avatar that's talking, which for me is a personalized or a personified AI, if that's AI generated to get the message across to you, am I now going to be disciplined? because I used it to give impact. But if I present data, that's wrong. That is where the critique will come in. So then, rather, when I should resubmit, I must fix the data or analyze the data correctly instead of handing in another scripture, which becomes a doorstop in a year. So that's where the value of the research comes in. So my unique contribution is actually given by voice, context, personal example. And students don't always have a personal example, but somewhere it triggered the rationale of this whole study that's taking place, or the assignment that I'm doing at undergraduate or honors level. So something must have triggered it, and that will be the example that I work from. So I want to add my own unique contribution. So, what if I did not do that? I copied the AI's content. But what if I've done it correctly? I transformed the AI's content with my original thinking. Am I the writer then, the author? Yes, I am. The AI, or in this example, ChatGPT, actually was just the pilot to lift the plane off the ground. I'm steering it further as a researcher. You as a supervisor is like the sheepdog, you herding the student just in the correct navigational direction. Isn't that what supervision is? Or is it still like in the 1800s, where you take your glass of bourbon and your cigar, and you sit in the club and you discuss the philosophy of why we are human, or something like that? So we must really adapt to our modern X, Y, and Gen Z. The Z generation, those of you who've got children, you know now if you go, and our students are like that because of the information we have. When you go and you say to your child at home, don't lick the knife, you will cut your tongue in half. And by the time you turn your head back, they say, no, it says you can only do it 1% of the time, so I don't think it will happen to me. That's how these kids are now. And they question everything you say. So why won't an adult question everything you say? And ladies and gentlemen, it's just my opinion that I think if you pick up a student uses you as a supervisor as a crutch throughout the whole study, and they can't continue to be self-driven, then that student should not do a postgraduate study. Everybody cannot be in the first team. So I know we pushed for that, but that's just how it is. That's why some students take double the time to finish, apart from social factors and things like that. Right. Law number 5, the law of innovation and upliftment.
Number 5. Law of innovation and upliftment. Question. What additional innovations are stimulated from this that can be practically implemented in the world? Prompt. Give me 5 innovative ideas to improve the use of this topic at my university and in my community. Choose one idea and refine it. Is this a project you can undertake now, or in the future? Are you able to report on the project to show the impact? Upload or share your idea in the workbook.
So now I come to that important question. What is the contribution, the innovation that I'm working towards? Remember, we try to think very much top to bottom approach. But if we think in terms of a study of an inverted triangle from the point upwards to be elaborated in a postgrad study, in any assignment actually, what does this bring to my community, to my university, to my world? And if I prompt an AI to give me 5 innovative ideas on the topic, I will have an idea where I am going with my study, what I want to use, what I want to prove with this. Then I can start, cliche, with the end in mind. And then I'll have a focused study. Students won't be all over the place or spend a year on chapter 1. What's interesting is the AI, and most students do that now, can also draw a mind map of my study for me. And I can critique if it will work or not as a student and as a supervisor. So actually the productivity is lifted. So it's not anymore about how fast you finish the study or produce content. It is about how long did you take to reach a certain point. As a researcher myself, I find that something that would have taken me 3 months now takes me 1 week to realize and put it all together. So the escalation of productivity and research also has to do with that very, very important thing that we as humans in academia have to develop, and that is agility skills. Agility, how fast I can adapt to change in a technological changing environment. And that's where the resistance come in with change. It's all about how fast I can grasp and adapt to this. Because, interesting enough, most of my students have already done it. They adapt like this. So the agility skills is important there, and my innovative ideas will take me to see, oh, but this study is actually much more valuable than what I thought of handing in a thesis. So there I've already gone on to a very high level of metacognition, which shows people that you cannot just copy and paste from a screen. It goes much deeper than that. Right, so if I get these ideas and I can take one of them, of course, students, and build it further. What students did was they took their research question and they said to the AI, give me 5 innovative ideas. And there the focus of the study is established. So I'm not placing them with a burden, figure out where this is going to. They actually know where it's going to. They now learn how to do research and write it up, that the focus was established. The biggest problem postgrad studies had for many years. So the AI kind of helps to put that out. So law number 5 shows me there the law of innovation and upliftment. The student decides no ideas came from this, which I think seldom happens. Up until number 4, I saw a possible innovation I might use. I got a practical and implementable idea for the real world. That will help with the study. Whether it's a theoretical foundation, whether it's a prototype, or it will have an impact like in the social sciences, or a design-based experiment or so.
Number 6. Law of self-value added. Question: how can I determine if using me, as an AI, was worth it beyond marks? Think of the self-assessment rubric provided, where you have rated your skill, growth, clarity of thinking, and engagement. Prompt ChatGPT. Ask me 3 self-assessment questions about how I used AI productively today. Write a short reflection and upload or share it in the workbook.
So now already in this type of workshop, what people do now is they ask the GPT to give them 3 questions about how they have used the AI today. And then they must write a short reflection. So the AI, they cannot say to the AI, write a short reflection for me. Because the AI is going to say, you looked at drawing a diagram, then you saw you've got risks, then you saw that you got innovative ideas. That's not reflection. That's an overview of what happened. The student, with what they realize, and I saw this with a lot of lecturers as well, start writing there, but wow, I can use this much deeper and much more than only typing in a question or taking everything for the cake that I can eat if it is up there in the on the screen. So it goes deeper. And you know, ladies and gentlemen, as supervisors, if you've got a problem with getting a student's focus right, ask the AI, I want my student to know this, because the study must go there, but my student doesn't seem to get it. What can I do? And the AI will start giving you ideas, and you decide which one will work. And of course, next time you encounter this, you'll remember what the strategy was. So you're not fully reliant on the AI. You are actually using it to assist you as a supervisor. Right. So how can I self-determine if it was worth it? That's actually the question of the law, of that law. What was it worth it? Did I do it for marks? Did I do it to satisfy or quiet down my supervisor? Did I do it to push for this thesis to go through to a committee or to get to an external assessor? Or was there really worth inside that? And the rubric there is, what is my self-value added? I only did it for marks up to I grew in confidence, purpose, or skill. This was deeply valuable. Interesting, the data showed me most people chose 4 and 5 when it got to this. Very interesting there. I saw personal or professional value. Right.
Number 7. Law of academic output. Question. What is the academic output I deliver every time? Using all the ideas from earlier, generate an original academic artifact, for example, a short position statement, essay intro, infographic or abstract, with your insights about the 7 laws clearly embedded and how it works for you. Deliverable, upload or share your artifact in the workbook.
Okay. So what happened now is people actually come up with more than only this prompt idea. This prompt idea is write an abstract, an infographic, create anything with the artificial intelligence about these 7 laws. Because if I've got that against my wall or on the desk or it's opened somewhere, I'm reminded of not over-relying on the AI while I'm doing my work. As a student, as a lecturer, it will remind me also where I can question the student, where I might give advice to the student for using the AI. And also, if I work throughout my work continuously while I'm doing research and writing up the research, I can also use the ideas, generate an infographic, maybe ask the AI to analyze a few quotes and draw a diagram from that, from that stance, if I use SPSS or Atlas or any type of data analysis tool, isn't that also, well, very primitive, but a form of AI doing the work for me? Earlier years, you had to sit with the thousands of data sheets in front of you and physically go and calculate and do the statistics. Later on, the little coloring answer sheets came in, and you send it through a machine that did the Likert scale statistics for you. Later on, after that, we used electronic data like Google Forms or Excel to start giving us the stats. Now people use AI for the stats, and they check it for the accuracy. They still make conclusions. So research has evolved. The methods of doing things and analyzing data has evolved up until where we are in 2025. And now the AI has added a valuable assistant tool for us. So nothing wrong with using it, nothing to be scared about, just the check for accuracy. And nowadays, I see in methodologies, people go and explain. I have used OpenAI to analyze the interview. According to the interview, these were the trends. Then I checked it with SPSS. So it's fine to say that. Isn't that what you want in a narrative of research? To see the procedure the student followed, the thinking of the student. Right, so it actually is just law number 7 is around that. What is the academic output I deliver every time I'm handing in work, I'm doing an assignment? Is it worth it? Going back to school children and undergraduate students at university or wherever they study, they will always say, why must I know this? What am I going to do with it? And this is where I usually say, ask the AI. Right, so there is the last rubric level, the criterion. Did the artifact I have created, add value to my academic and professional field? It's interesting. I've got Alexa at home, and when I speak to Alexa, it speaks back to me and so on. So every morning at 6 o'clock, it comes up and it tells me a joke, and it gives me my schedule for the day and then the latest news. So I asked Alexa, was it earlier in the week? Alexa said, here's a joke to start your day. Why was the scarecrow promoted? I thought, wow, because it stood out in its field. So this is your academic output that you deliver. It doesn't meet the standards or goals. Last one, it's high quality and clearly adds value to my academic or career field. And then usually what I did was I just give a review there of the rubric with the 7 laws. And then after that, that's the artifact that I asked ChatGPT to create of the workshop that I present. And it did it like that for me. Straightforward, so that I can see where I'm going to. Am I still in time? Who's timing me? Am I over? Oh, perfect. Okay. And then
You will now use me as your study partner and not as a slave to generate superficial content. Your input and skills will always show. I would like to leave you with this poem from Rudyard Kipling, who also wrote The Jungle Book. I keep 6 honest serving men. They taught me all I knew. Their names are what and why and when, and how and where and who. I send them over land and sea. I send them east and west. But after they have worked for me, I give them all a rest. Happy studying.
So, in short, that was the approach I followed with students, with simple 7 laws of my thoughts, so that they can see, I cannot take this just for face value. Of course, each one of these things people grow into the more they go on. Right. Okay, then I am done. Then I say thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Dr. Law, for that insightful presentation. I think in most cases we have sessions that are guiding students on the use of AI and not so much about supervisors. So thank you so much for that presentation. And now we're going to move on to the question and answer segment. Those who have questions or comments to share the experiences, you are more than welcome. Even the online audience, you can ask your questions. Do we have any hand? I will hand over to you to address the questions.
Okay, testing. All right. Thank you so much, Doc, for a very insightful presentation. I just wanted to ask a question. I always, whenever I hear about this AI, at first it used to frighten me. I took long after I heard of ChatGPT for me to actually start also using it. It took me quite a long time. So some of these traits that they've been talking about, I've also witnessed them. But I always have a question on AI, sort of addiction, right? AI addiction, brain redundancy as well. I've seen that whenever I want to do something, your first point of entry or reference is to think about AI. To the extent of sometimes I even joke with my colleagues that when we ask you that what is your name, then you want to go to ChatGPT to ask that what is my name. You understand? So what do you think about that? I believe AI learns from us, right? It does learn from us, isn't it? These large language models, they learn from us. So what is your take on the issue of redundancy? There's that part of us that stops thinking that everything AI must do for us, right? Then the issue of like I've said, the AI addiction. Thank you.
Thank you for that question. Yes, I will just quickly answer this for you. Remember, when you log into an AI, what happens there is the AI picks up your way of thinking. So it helps you individually. It contributes to a collective AI. But remember, what's happening there is between you and the AI. You see this 7 Laws workshop also, the over-reliance on AI. That's why I made the statement it should not become a crutch for you. That has to do with how you use the AI. So any student you can ask, even yourself, if you want to find out something, you first go to Google. Students don't run to the library anymore. And although it is very valuable to do that, so the library is now just here, it's brought to you. So you won't over-rely, your brain won't deteriorate, your mind won't deteriorate. This thing, on the contrary, enhances it, because the moment it gives you an answer, and you are prompted or by yourself to answer, ask another question, and another question. That's where the chat comes from, until it becomes a conversation. So you are still the intelligent agent. You are still running what that thing gives back to you. So don't be scared of it as if it's human. It's not. It does not have emotions. And it really does not have a personality. It picks up your way of writing and it answers you in your way of talking, in inverts. So it's really just an assistant. No one will deteriorate. And I always tell this joke to people. It depends on how intelligently the human being uses the AI as an assistant or a thought, a co-thinker, let's use that word, or a collaborator. This guy took a friend of his to an office of another friend of his who is the director. He had to have a meeting with the director. So he went in there and he said to the guy, "Will you wait in this office for about 10 minutes while we are quickly going to have a meeting in the other room?" But there was this beautiful aquarium with tropical fish in that room. And he said to that friend of his, and now this is how the AI and the human mind can work. He said to him, "Sit there and let's look at the fish." And as he stood at the aquarium, he said, "Watch here." And he moved to this side, and all the fish swam to this side. And he moved to that side of the aquarium, and all the fish swam to that side. So he said, "You can play with a fish like that while we have a meeting." 10 minutes later, when he came back into the office, the guy was sitting in front of the fish tank. So it depends on how you use the AI. Okay, right. I hope in broad my philosophy is okay with you.
Thank you, Dr. Lowe. We just have one comment from the online audience, and I think this is from Professor Boniface. They say, "An email from my law bar has warned legal practitioners that we may not use AI to find legal sources, as there have been instances where legal practitioners incorrectly referred to non-existent legal sources in court." So this was a comment to your presentation early on.
Thank you for that. You see, that's where the subject expertise comes in. Excellent. It must also be critically evaluated. Yeah. Thank you, Prof. Boniface.
Any other question? Okay. Do you have a follow-up question, Dr. Gabriel? Unfortunately, we don't have time. We can engage during break. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Arno Law, for that insightful presentation and for gracing us with your presence today. We really appreciate you taking the time to give this presentation today. And I will hand over now to my colleague to introduce the second speaker.
Thank you, Koketo. Colleagues, thank you for your engagement. Now we will be moving on to our masterclass 2, and our facilitator is Dr. Kali. She will be guiding us on building trusting supervision relationships. But before that, colleagues, I would like to encourage you to engage with us. So those who are here physically, please do raise your hand and engage with the facilitators. Those who are online, colleagues, you can just type your questions under the chat, and we have colleagues who will be monitoring those chats. If you will prefer to speak, you can just raise a hand, a virtual hand, and my colleagues will note your questions.